And a very good evening to you. Welcome to Easy Friday. My name is Shiksha Arora. Thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. Of course, our sign language interpreter tonight is Baron Abuli as we tell you the top stories. Remember, Interior Cabinet Secretary has said that the government is going to ensure that lawlessness in the country is dealt with properly. And of course, the perpetrators are brought to book. That's something that we will be looking at later on as the war on crime tightens in the country. Apart from that, we also have freedom fighter, that is Muthoni Kirima, who is laid to rest, and tributes have been flowing in. So we'll be looking at that as well. So that and much more. We also have the latest from the counties. So all you need to do is sit back and enjoy this live broadcast. For now, though, it's time for the highlights.
Ule jambazi mukora atajaribu kutumia silaha ati kulenga ama kujaribu kuumiza afisa wa usalama. Huyo ni ile safari ya one way.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kivutha Kindiki says the government will be unstoppable in the war against lawlessness in the country. The ghosts of 2022. Hussein Marjan alleges attempts to force a presidential election rerun in a no-holds-barred submission to the Bipartisan Talks Committee. And farewell Field Marshal. Freedom fighter Muthoni Kirima is laid to rest amid glowing tributes. You're watching KBC Channel 1, and tonight's live broadcast starts with this particular story where Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kivutha Kindiki has issued a shoot-to-kill order on criminals targeting any security officers. Kindiki spoke today when he commissioned a General Service Unit camp in Akwichatis, Tiaty sub-county. Now, Tiaty has suffered several bandit attacks, and the setting up of this new camp is a boost to security in the area and one meant to reassure locals of their safety. Take a look.
At the Akwichatis area in Tiaty sub-county.
Stand first, the right advert. The maida to the guard room. Dismiss.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kivutha Kindiki is commissioning a General Service Unit camp that is tasked with the responsibility of restoring calm and normalcy in this area. It's here that Kindiki issued a new ultimatum to rogue criminals and especially those who target security officers.
Ati kulenga ama kujaribu kuumiza afisa wa usalama. Huyo ni ile safari ya one way. Ile ya kumpeleka, ile safari ya kwenda bila kurudi, na tutamnunulia ticket ya kwenda one way.
Kindiki further adding that the officers deployed at this camp are supposed to beef up security and ensure peaceful coexistence among locals. Locals here are being urged to collaborate with the security agencies and volunteer any vital information that will help weed out criminals.
That they must live with the local people and build connections and build relationships with peace-loving members of the society here, so that they can give them the right intelligence to hunt down the few criminals who are making this place have a bad name because of their unlawful conduct.
Sisi tumeomba NPR kwa sababu NPR ndio watasaidiana na hawa watu wa askari katika intelligence gathering, kufuata mwizi, kufuata nani mpaka patikane.
More camps are expected to be set up in the area as the government seeks to quell incessant banditry attacks in the area and in the North Rift region at large. From here, Kindiki went to Meru County where he operationalized Kiengu sub-county and reiterated the government's commitment to using the same time and energy that is being used in combating banditry, cattle rustling and terrorism in the North Rift and Northeastern in the crackdown on armed criminals and perpetrators of livestock theft in Meru County.
Tunaenda kujaza askari maalum wa kupambana na wezi wa mifugo, mimi ndio nitawaleta nikibeba kwa lori, na tutajaza askari wa kila aina hapa. Tutaweka ASTU, tutaweka GSU, tutaweka QRU, tutaweka SOG, na ikizidikana tutaweka jeshi ya kitaifa KDF.
Yusufar reporting for Easy Friday.
Now, police have launched investigations into the death of a 12-year-old girl who was defiled and killed in cold blood in Kasambara village in Gilgil constituency, Nakuru County. The deceased is said to have been waylaid on her way from school and her body dumped into a thicket. Her family is calling for speedy investigations to ensure those culpable are brought to book. This story and more in our Crime Watch segment tonight.
Hawa majangili wote walifanya hii kitendo, si wa ile Kasambara, ni wa Baruku.
Family and friends of the 12-year-old girl sit silently as they try to come to terms with the death of their daughter, whose life has been cut short in the most cruel way. The 12-year-old girl, who was until her death a pupil at Roots Academy, is said to have been returning home from school after she was dropped off by the school bus. Preliminary investigations indicate that the deceased was defiled before being murdered in a cold blood. Jasmine's father, Francis Wambugu, weighed by the loss, only pleading for justice for her daughter.
Mimi ni mtoto yangu ya kwanza, kuwa na miaka 12. Mtoto niliyekuwa nimependa sana, lakini jana Mungu akampenda zaidi. Mi kile kitu niko nayo ama kilio changu ni haki ya mtoto yangu itendeke. Sina ya mingi.
Residents are calling on the security apparatus to beef up security in the area.
Tuweze kufika kichaka mara moja yawezekana, na pia ningeomba tu serikali yetu kutusaidia tuweze kuwa na police post hapa karibu, kwa sababu hapa tu tumekaa tu na Madam Chief.
In Kisii, 3 men have been arrested over alleged child trafficking. The 3 were found to be hauling 10 children, all under the age of 10.
Watoto sasa walikuja usiku wa leo. Juzi walikuwa peke yao vijana wawili.
Acting on a tip-off, area police apprehended the men and escorted the children to Kisii police station for questioning.
Watoto 10 wadogo kati ya miaka 5 na 7 na wazazi wao wanaume 2 ndio bado pia tunachunguza. Pia tumeshirikiana na ofisa county ya watoto ndio tujue afya ya watoto pia iko sawa, masuala yao iko sawa.
Upon questioning, the 2 men claimed they were transporting the children to Eberege SDA Church Children's Home in Kenyanya sub-county. The president of Southeast Kenya Field SDA Church, James Ondabu, under which the children's home was registered, denied existence of the said sponsorship program.
May her soul rest in peace. Now moving on, as we celebrate World Rhino Day, Kenya will for the next 3 years invest in the recovery and repopulation of the black rhino to save the endangered species from extinction. The Kenya Wildlife Service is targeting to increase the population of the eastern black rhinos by 3,450 by 2037. Our reporter Alvin Kaunda has all the details.
Rhinos, once abundant across Africa and Asia, now face the threat of extinction due to rampant poaching and habitat loss, dramatically dwindling their numbers, making them one of the most endangered species on the planet.
Black rhino population ranks 3rd after South Africa and Namibia, and that we host approximately 80% of the eastern subspecies of the black rhino.
The journey to safeguard black rhinos has been long and arduous one, but it has been marked by remarkable progress. One pivotal moment in this journey is the Wildlife Conservation Management Act of 2013, which introduced enhanced penalties for wildlife crimes, especially those critically endangered species listed in the 6th schedule.
Statistics show that in the last century alone, the global rhino population has declined by a staggering 95% due to the illegal demands for their horns in the black market.
All the 7 sanctuaries or rhino places that we have beefed security. Kenya Wildlife Service and the partners have made sure that we have made it extremely difficult for the would-be poachers to even be able to penetrate us.
Conservationists, governments and organizations around the world have come together to protect the magnificent animals. Through the launch of the Recovery and Action Plan for the Black Rhinos, Kenya aims to have a population in Kenya of at least 3,450 eastern black rhinos in suitable habitats by the year 2037. In national parks and reserves, dedicated rangers risk their lives to protect rhinos from poachers. Conservation organizations are also working tirelessly to rehabilitate orphaned rhinos and raise awareness about the importance of their conservation.
We need to have these safe sanctuaries of good rhino habitat to allow us to hit the target of 5% growth per annum in rhino, black rhino, so that we can therefore achieve the meta population of 2,000 individuals.
Kenya needs to rebuild up to a stable population of about 2,000 black rhino. The population size that we are told by scientists that it is necessary in order for us to, for black rhinos to survive in Kenya for generations to come.
One key aspect of rhino conservation involves local communities. By providing employment opportunities and incentives for protecting rhinos, these communities play a crucial role in safeguarding the species. As we mark World Rhino Day, it is important to recognize the progress made in rhino conservation because the future of these creatures depend on international cooperation, vigilance, and public support. Reporting for Easy Friday, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
I was actually lucky enough to meet the two northern white rhinos, the only two, rather, northern white rhinos left in the world that are currently in Olpejeta, Najin and Fatu. Quite majestic creatures, and of course we really do hope that something can be done to make sure that they don't go extinct. Now moving on, Field Marshal Muthoni Kirima has been laid to rest at her home in Tetu, Nyeri County. Muthoni, who died at the age 92 years old, was the only woman to attain the Field Marshal status in the colonial era. While honoring the fallen heroine, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said the government is doing what it can to recognize and compensate the living freedom fighters. Take a look.
Kinunga Stadium on the slopes of Mount Kenya in Nyeri County on Friday played host to the burial of Field Marshal Muthoni Kirima, who died on 2nd September this year. Former Mau Mau fighters and Kirima's family members eulogize her as a brave, fearless and selfless leader.
Wa Kirima, a liberation hero and wife of the late General Mutungi Geshoin, was instrumental in the Mau Mau movement and the liberation struggle of our country, Kenya. She was a pivotal figure in the struggle of Kenya's independence. She was a leader of revolution and a symbol of hope, championing through the Mau Mau movement.
While saying the government is doing its part to compensate surviving Mau Mau fighters, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua challenged leaders from the region to unite and speak in one voice.
We talk differently and say different things. But if our interests are threatened, we put our differences aside and speak as one. That is why when there was an issue about the elections of Yala, we put differences aside. I called all the leaders in Mulima. We speak in one voice.
Rigathi defended the Kenya Kwanza administration against any blame on the current cost of living, attributing it to global dynamics. Leaders, freedom fighters and residents who thronged the stadium to pay their last respect to the fallen heroine called for more recognition of the living freedom fighters.
Sasa huyu William Ruto mtoto wa wenyewe tunauliza yeye hakuna bizima iko kwa haraka wamepandisha bei. What we have done ni pahali tuko na uwezo ndio tunasaidia. Mafuta ikipanda sisi tunapunguza bei ya fertilizer. Sasa ndio ipate balance kidogo.
A section of Azimio leaders led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who also attended the burial, eyed the government to expedite the compensation of freedom fighters.
Through legislation, I know that at the time we pushed for the Heroes Act. But when you look at the Heroes Act, you can improve on it so that we recognize the Mau Mau heroes. so that we are not just talking about recognition of our heroes, but we're also talking about the welfare of our heroes. Sisi tunasema hiyo sababu inawezekana kupitia sheria.
Mimi nilifanya kazi na mzee Kibaki vilivyo. Kumbukeni wakati wa Africa's first grand coalition government, because Zanzibar alifuata kisha baadaye, Kenya ilionyesha umaarufu wa utangamano wa kweli.
Muthoni had earlier in the year shaved her trademark dreadlocks, which she had had for 70 years in 2022, which were a valuable reminder of her sacrifice for the country during and after Kenya's struggle for independence. Tilio Marco for Easy Friday.
All right, and with that, it's time for us to take our first commercial break, but we will be back shortly. Remember, you can interact with us. The hashtag is Easy Friday at KBC Channel 1 at Shiksha Arora on Twitter. Let us know where you're watching from. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go too far.
Na Lucky Game ikiwa ni ngurumo ya pikipiki sasa inaelekea mitaani. Ikiwa mshindi wetu wa leo wa pikipiki ni Joseph Kamau. Delivery tutaifanya. Simefika Ruiro, nami yako Ogio. Kifungu ndio hiyo yako.
Nilikuwa nimejaribu siku kama 3 hivi. Nimeshida hii pikipiki Honda.
Amekabidhiwa mpaka stakabadhi zote. Yote inafanyika katika Lucky Game. Vurumisha na star 570. Shinda pesa moto.
County Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From the 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, we taste taita kimanga, steamed rice and chicken adobo, courtesy of our guest cook, Dominic.
We don't put chumvi because there is, this is our cooking stick.
Okay.
Now we use
I don't take all.
Just 1 piece.
Why? So you are cooking for me?
For the rest.
No, but you are cooking for me. You are not cooking for the rest. Achana na the rest. Awako.
Welcome back. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Secretariat now says the election servers only contain the images of Form 34As from the polling stations of the August 9th election. While submitting their views to the National Dialogue Committee at the Bomas of Kenya, the Secretariat CEO Hussein Marjan narrated the events of August 15th last year, claiming that the National Security Advisory Committee objected to the results because of the small margin between the first and the second candidates and wanted a rerun conducted. Marjan has also claimed that the delimitation of the boundaries will not be done on time as the commission is still not in place. Givison Minor now reports.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Secretariat on Friday started mixed reactions among members of the National Dialogue Committee at the Bomas of Kenya when CEO Marjan Hussein claimed the National Security Advisory Council had tried to push for a rerun of the 22 presidential elections.
I was not there when the NSAC were there, but I was there when I now gave them the results, the final results for them to discuss. Immediately the one group saw the results, they say this difference is small. We can't allow that. At some point, even the director legal was called to come and guide on what the law says about declaration of the presidential results. It was stressed by the commissioners that we don't need you here. We don't want law. We just want to make sure that everything is done according to expectations.
I think there are some constituencies maybe where we had not yet seen the results on the screen. So what do you take of 138? We don't want to see what we saw in Bomas.
There were about 20-something that had not been announced. They were going to be announced at that particular time when the declaration was being done. But because of the turnout of the events, and it was going to be done specifically by Professor Gulia, this is also in his testimony, but because of the turn of the events, it never happened.
The IBC Secretariat CEO also told the Dialogue Committee that the election servers contained the images of the physical Form 34As from the polling stations and were ready for audit.
The question, are the servers available for forensic audit? Yes, I confirm they are available for forensic audit anytime. And also to clarify that they were used to process the exact replica of the physical forms that are available. So they are available to be compared with the physical forms and the electronic data in those servers.
Marjan rooted for Kriegler's expert model in the recruitment process that will have commissioners picked based on their expertise, vouching for especially legal and ICT experts as IBC commissioners.
Currently, what we have been having is 7 commissioners. So wouldn't mind to go with the 7 commissioners because it has worked for us. But should this committee find it wise to give us the maximum of 9, it will be good because it will represent all the regions in the country.
The IBC Secretariat also alluded that the delay in the recruitment of the IBC commissioners will affect the delimitation of boundaries that are required to be completed by 5th of March 2024. Other stakeholders that submitted their views to the committee include KOTU, Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, National Gender and Equality Commission, and a 2/3 gender working group that proposed special seats in Parliament to meet 2/3 gender principle. They also backed the proposal for the creation of the office of the leader of the opposition to resolve the problem of winner-takes-all system of elections. Giverson Minor, Easy Friday.
In other news, the Supreme Court has retained the Department of Defense's ownership of a 90-acre piece of land in Embakasi, Nairobi County. Rhino Enterprises Limited claim of ownership of the land was dismissed on grounds that the DoD had already occupied the land in question when it claimed to have bought the land. Take a look.
Rhino Enterprises Limited had gone to the Supreme Court seeking to overturn the appellate court ruling that dismissed its claim of ownership of the land. Rhino claimed to have bought the land in the year 2000 at a cost of 12 million shillings from Renton Company, which had acquired it from Nairobi City Council through an allotment letter dated 19th December 1999. The trial court and the High Court had previously ruled in favor of the company, terming DoD's occupation of the land illegal. The Court of Appeal, however, overturned the High Court ruling on grounds that neither Renton Company Limited nor Rhino had acquired a valid interest in the street property, staking claim that the DoD had already constructed structures on it. Grounds that the Supreme Court upheld, ruling that once an individual or entity acquires any unalienated government land, consequent upon registration of the title in accordance with the provisions of the applicable law, such land transmutes from public to private land. The Apex Court, however, faulted the DoD for failing to acquire a valid title of the property it had occupied since 1986. As matters currently stand, the property's title is in the custody of Nairobi County, who succeeded the defunct Nairobi City Council. Michael Mondiga for Easy Friday.
Now on to some politics, where United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Cleophas Malala has dismissed any propaganda claims that there were cracks in the ruling party. Speaking in Narok during the opening of the party's office, Malala said UDA was still intact and encouraged residents to vie for grassroots positions in the party. UDA bigwigs accompanying the Secretary General hailed President William Ruto's administration for increasing the prices of farm produce, such as milk and maize.
chama cha UDA. Rais ambaye ni party leader wetu alitangaza uchaguzi, akasema kwamba tarehe 5 Disemba, kutoka tarehe 5 tunaenda kuwa na uchaguzi wa chama. Tutakuwa na watu 20 kwa kila polling center ambao watakuja katika ward level. Kama ward fulani iko na polling center 10, tutakuwa na watu 20, hao ni watu 200. Hapo kwa ward tutachagua tena officials wa ward 20. Tukitoka hapo tutaenda kwa constituency. Kama constituency iko na ward 5, tutachukua watu 20 kwa kila ward, wakuwe watu 100 wachague constituency officials. Kama wewe ni mama mboga, uko na haki ya kusimama kura. Hii kura sio ya viongozi ambao wamechaguliwa peke yao. Nataka kupeana hii message very clear, kwamba the officials that we are going to elect is not for elected leaders only.
Ningependa kuhakikishia wa Kenya na supporters wetu kwamba Kenya kwanza is intact. Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua na Mheshimiwa Wetangula na Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi hawana vita yoyote.
Now, every other year, Tharaka Nithi County holds a cultural event in which the 4 sub-communities, including the Tharakas, Chuka, Mudhambi and Mwimbi, showcase their diverse cultures. Sarafina Robi attended the 2023 Tharaka Cultural Festival and filed the following report for tonight's episode of My Culture.
The sights and sounds of the Tharaka Cultural Festival rent the air. In droves, thousands of Tharaka Nithi County residents arrive for the annual event. The 3-day 2023 cultural event showcased dance, food,
Zamani hapo watu walikuwa wanatumia mambo ya social media ama nini, lakini kila mboma ilikuwa inatumia hii. Kila mwanamke wa Kitharaka alikuwa anatumia hii jiwe kutengeneza uji, kutengeneza unga ya chakula, ndio familia yake ikuwe na chakula. Unaona ile chondo iko pale, wakikuja sasa waitishe hiyo uji ya mzee, waende kwa nyumba ya mzee wapate hakuna uji, wanakuja wanakuchukua, wanakufunika kichwa na ile chondo, ndio sasa uchapwe na mtu ambaye hujui.
Kuna hii kadongo, kuna kadongo na hii inatoka kwa hii mawere. Pia unaweza kutengeneza mburuge ya maziwa, unakunywa kutoka kwa hii unga. Pia hata hii unga ukiweka kwa maji unaweza koroga, unakula, unakunywa, na wewe kusikia vibaya kwa tumbo yako. Na hiyo mawere ndio inatoka hii inaitwa makie. Hii ni makie. Ukikata hivyo unakula. Hii hata ikikaa siku 2-3 ni sakura.
Unapotoa ile asali unaweka kwa hii. Hii ni kabati ya asali.
leadership.
Ilikuwa ikitumika wakati wa utayarishaji vijana, na hata ilikuwa na pass message kama kitu ya kujulisha wengine kama kuna vita. Ilikuwa ikichungwa sana isije ikachukuliwe. Ni heri kijana awawe kuliko hii chukuliwe.
Hii ilikuwa inabariwa na ule kiongozi anaongoza tume fulani ya kufanya kesi. Hii ni kopia ya kesi. Inaitwa Nkaliunga. basi huyu sasa ule atakuwa na baria iko pia ndiye anatambulikana ni kama Martha Koome katika Kenya.
And the dressing aspect. Well, back in the days, if I was a Tharaka girl, not yet married, it will mean that I'll have to dress in this clothing. You'll be clothed in this. And once you wear this, when walking around, no man was allowed to come close to you or speak matters of love to you because you'll be respected. Now, once you get pregnant, you'll be dressed in this. This will be used to cover your navel also so that it is not exposed until the child is born. These were the traditional dresses for the Tharaka girls and women back in the day. The Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, Penina Malonza, and other leaders in attendance hailed the display of culture.
Vile katika utamaduni wetu, ndugu zetu, wizara yangu imewajibika kuangalia zile vitu zetu ambao ziliibwa na mkoloni. Na tunadai tunasifuata huko ng'ambo ili sirudishwe hapa na sirudishwe na fidia.
The Kenya Tourism Board, with the Magical Kenya Drive, has vowed to continue supporting cultural events. Serafina Robin for My Culture.
Na Lucky Game ikiwa ni ngurumo ya pikipiki sasa inaelekea mitaani. Ikiwa mshindi wetu wa leo wa pikipiki ni Joseph Kamau. Delivery tutaifanya. Zimefika Ruiru, nami yako Ogio. Kifungu ndio hiyo yako.
Nilikuwa nimejaribu siku kama 3 hivi. Nimeshida hii pikipiki Honda.
Amekabidhiwa mpaka stakabadhi zote. Yote inafanyika katika Lucky Game. Vurumisha na star 570.
The Senate will hold its sittings dubbed Senate Mashinani, Turkana County, from 25th to 29th September 2023. This is in line with Article 126 of the Constitution that allows a sitting of either House of Parliament to be held at any place within Kenya and at any time that the House appoints. The sittings will highlight the critical role the Senate plays in the interlinkage between the national and county levels of government and enhance the interaction between the Senate and county government as a means of bringing the Senate closer to the counties and the general public. The sittings will promote the role and work of the Senate and enhance public awareness regarding the business of the Senate and Parliament in general. Senate Mashinani will also highlight existing and new opportunities in the legislative process besides developing capacity and strengthening partnership at the county level of government. The Senate invites members of the public to meet and interact with their senators and follow deliberations of the Senate during the sittings. The scenic cradle of mankind, rated to play cradle to devolution. Senate Mashinani welcomes you home.
Why is that, Aunt? Were you the one that had him beaten?
Lena cannot do anything against us because if she were to dare, I know exactly how to hit her where it hurts.
To tell them the truth, that the Molinas forced you to do it, please, Victor.
I can't do that, Carolina.
My brother-in-law.
Go and figure out a way, Isabel. But I do not want to see you getting close to him ever again. Understood?
Ikitoka nje ya hii gate, usifungulie mtu mwingine yoyote.
Ulitoka hapa kwangu na hasira hadi ukanivunjia paka mlango.
Tena umerudi wewe na hasira. Nikueleweje mimi?
Achana na mimi.
Amefukuzwa na nani? Amfukuzwa na babako. Kaeke begi ende jikoni ukapike.
Yaani mimi nitoke ntokako? Wewe unketi tu hapo. Alafu mimi niingie jikoni nikupikie. Twende. Baba twende. Zito atakwenda kanijua mimi ni nani.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the world of business, where the Kenya Ports Authority has struck a deal with the Kenya Revenue Authority to develop a joint working formula in a bid to accelerate turnaround time at the port. The two giant state agencies have said the verification of transshipment cargo has been struck off with immediate effect. Now this comes even as the KPA says there are no plans to privatize port operations.
Last month, President William Ruto directed the Kenya Ports Authority and the Kenya Revenue Authority to develop a joint working formula to improve operations at the port of Mombasa. The president decried the long and unnecessary delays at various weighbridges along the northern corridor. Today, the two entities have announced a joint working framework which has seen the abolishment of the verification of transshipment cargo along the corridor. A joint communique issued by the two entities says that goods meant for exports will now be verified outside the port of Mombasa in new changes, while overstayed cargo with missing documents will be reshipped to the country of origin. This comes even as the KPA board chair Benjamin Tayari has allayed fears that the ports of Mombasa and Lamu will be privatized.
Habari ambazo zimekuja ambazo tumeziona kwenye magazeti na kwenye runinga kusema kwamba bandari ya Mombasa inauzwa si ukweli.
KPA says it is not privatizing any port operations but rather looking for concessionaires.
Kuna tofauti kubwa sana ya nimesema kwa lugha ya kimombo privatization na concession, ambapo tofauti ni kwamba privatization ni kama ambaye unapatia unauza ama unapatia mtu afanye hii biashara, lakini concession ni kwamba sisi hapa ndio landlord wa hii bandari ya Mombasa. Ile tunafanya tunakodisha mtu afanye biashara na sisi tunapata pesa, na pia hakuna kazi hata moja ambayo itapotea katika wale wafanyikazi ambao wanafanya kazi hapo.
Tayari says the port is already making concessions in berth number 4 and number 7 respectively, where Grain Bulk Handlers Limited and Portside are working.
Katika ulimwengu mzima kwa hivi sasa bandari zote wanaenda kwa upande ule wa landlord model, ambapo shirika la bandari ama mamlaka ya bandari inasimamia bandari, alafu wafanyabiashara wanakuja wanafanya biashara na sisi tunapata mapato kutoka hapo. Kwa hivyo ni tofauti kubwa sana na ile misemo ama yale matamshi na maandiko ambayo yamekuwa kwenye magazeti.
The KPA board and management will engage with port stakeholders and coastal leaders.
Now, the Engineers Board of Kenya is planning to expedite the establishment of a specialized school for engineering professionals by the end of 2023. Roads Principal Secretary Engineer Joseph Mbugua says the government is also working on a policy to improve the training of engineers in the country.
Earlier this year, the Engineers Board of Kenya announced plans to register 10,000 professional engineers by 2027 to address the human capacity gaps in the industry. In a move that will speed up this process, the board has rolled out various strategies aimed at accelerating the process.
We will deliberately invest in their training, skills development and knowledge enhancement to ensure that they are equipped to face the challenges of this century. The strategic plan, therefore, provides an opportunity to align ourselves with the government priorities.
To enhance regulation of engineering services, the government has rolled out an online registration portal and project registration platform, a move that is said will root out quacks in the industry who have been blamed for the collapse of houses.
We also blame other people, like we talk of quacks and so on and so forth. How can we effectively avoid or stop quacks from interfering and leave this job to professional engineers who have been undertaken to commit?
We know there's been a lot of collapse of buildings.
We have found that the engineering profession is not fully developed in Kenya. We want to assure you that this plan has put in place all the measures we need to eliminate the collapse of buildings.
Currently, the board is looking to ensure safety of professional services, improve capacity of engineers, enhance liberalization of services, strengthen collaborations and institutional capacity as part of its latest strategic plan under review that is set to run for the next 5 years.
Part of the collaboration we are doing is bringing this understanding and working together of both the academia and the industry.
I also would like to single out the national broadcaster, KBC, for the coverage and the response to a very short call.
Particularly, I think we want to put an enabling environment for business in Kenya. And so we were told to also be visible. So I would like to assure all Kenyans that we are partnering very well with KBC and we'll be able to give more and more of our programs. And we also seek your support as we start implementing the strategic plan going forward.
The government has also so far lined up billions of shillings towards key sectors including affordable housing, healthcare plan, digital superhighway and creative economy and environment and climate change programs that will require thousands of professional engineers to implement. Alan Auko, Easy Friday.
In other news, Kenya and the United Kingdom have signed a memorandum of understanding on market access and business integrity between the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry and the British Chamber of Commerce, Kenya. Principal Secretary for Investment Promotion, Abubakar Hassan, says the move will enable the two entities to identify and recommend areas for reform.
Kenya's market share in the United Kingdom in terms of both exports and re-exports has remained on a steady growth path over the years. As a result, the Memorandum of Understanding provides continuity to the long-term business integrity initiative that provides guidance for doing business.
The UK is the largest foreign direct investor in Kenya, and my job is to help encourage more British businesses to invest here, to create more local jobs and invest in your key areas for the President's priorities.
The partnership will also see both organizations act as a channel that provides recommendations to the government on integrity issues impacting trade and investment.
So I really encourage British businesses to consider Kenya for investing, and they really are open for business, and there's so much here in terms of support and expertise to help you to be here.
Further, the initiative will also spearhead the fast tracking of license acquisition by investors, as well as act as a liaison between other government agencies for the approval of business permits needed that may not directly be handled by the Kenya Investment Authority.
To understand how to set up and register my company, understanding different issues like utilities, working with the tax system, and really getting that specialist advice.
The move comes in the wake of the tour done by the United Kingdom Trade Envoy Theo Clark to the Kenya Investment Authority One Start, One Stop Center. Dutamo Kami for Easy Friday.
Now, Kenya has resumed Chile exports to the European Union after taking corrective measures 2 months after a consignment was intercepted in the EU. Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, that's KEFIS, Managing Director Theophilus Mudhui says Kenya and the EU have agreed on Chile export standards and no interceptions have been recorded in the past 2 months.
A consignment of Kenyan chili was intercepted in the European Union in July this year, jeopardizing the key market. Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service now says normal exports to the market have resumed after an agreement between Kenya and EU officials.
We have not had interception before, and in the previous month we only had one interception. And for that reason, European Union was satisfied with the audit findings and exempted chilies from their audit.
In a bid to minimize the interception of Kenya's produce to the EU, the Union has donated testing equipment worth 3.1 million shillings.
We
handed over today, those different kind of materials will allow KEFIS to be able to comply with the accreditation system and being able to check on the levels of pesticides on those different products. So that will comply actually with the EU regulations.
The accuracy of the test results means that even within the ESC, we are going to see improvement in terms of, market access for various products.
The equipment has been calibrated to EU standards and are set to further reduce checks on Kenyan consignment in the EU market.
Most of our produce will access the EU market without much of a challenge, and our farmers will be able to get this service efficiently, effectively, and in the spirit of what we call one test accepted globally.
The test equipment is set to increase Kenyan shipment to the EU that was valued at 204 billion shillings in 2022.
You maybe know, a few months ago, the agreement between Kenya and the EU was ratified, the Economic Partnership Agreement, to be able to increase exports. So this eventually will have a very good standards, and this will allow companies of Kenya to be able to export to the European Union.
Nairobi and Brussels have concluded negotiations on an ambitious trade agreement that will see the EU remove tariffs and quotas on all Kenyan goods except arms. Benson Ruba reporting for Easy Friday.
And it's only fair that Kenya exports chilies to EU, especially because we have some of the best green chilies. Try them. Moving on, Kenya and Ghana have moved to improve trade ties with the two countries by identifying various areas of interest. Nairobi and Accra plan to remove trade restrictions that continue to hamper trade between the two nations. The improving trade ties have seen giant Ghanaian beverage company Casapreco Company Limited open its operations in Kenya, targeting the larger East African region. Casapreco Deputy Managing Director Gregory Pitts says the company is targeting the growing traditional liquor market in the region. Entering the Kenyan market through Canary International Trading Company, which is a Kenyan distributor of fast-moving goods like tea, water and soft drinks. Speaking during the launch of the company into the Kenyan market, Ghanaian High Commissioner Patrick Masope urged investors to explore the business-to-business model to penetrate the African market. Casapreco will start exporting its famous brands Alomo Bitters, Alomo Gold and Alomo Silver into the East African market, using Kenya as its launch pad.
We are not just introduce a product, we are introduce experience that embodies the rich flavors, craftsmanship and passion that Canary stand for, and we hope this will help foster great partnership between Ghana and Kenya.
We also like to look at how we can also locally manufacture here and produce in the country, because that is the only way we will be able to compete locally and be able to be cost efficient on the market.
I believe the products that you are launching in Kenya would make us to score, so that business is about population. So we need to really reproduce more, and therefore us as KNCCI, we advocate for products that are healthy, products that would reach the market and create employment for our youths and women.
Visit the Nairobi International Trade Fair from 25th September to 1st October at the Jamhuri Park Showground. Come learn, network and have lots of fun. There will be innovations, farm and dairy produce, livestock, trade and sales, technology, SMEs exhibitions, funfair, food and entertainment. All are welcome. For the gate charges, perimeter, adults 300 Kenyan shillings and children 250. Special parties, adults 250, children 200.
Haya. Kwa nini tuandike na mate ilhali wino upo? Karibu kwenye kipindi Sanaa ya Kiswahili.
bado safari ni ndefu. Wasafiri tusichoke.
Watu hawaelewani. Mgonjwa hupata tiba, mdaku hupata nini?
Na tuzijenge barabara, tupanue nchi yetu.
Wizara ya Vijana, masuala ya jinsia watatueleza kwa kina.
Serikali haijawekeza vya kutosha kwa vijana wetu.
Na vijana hawa linalowazuia tu ni uzembe wao, kumaanisha serikali imewatengea nafasi nyingi sana.
Hivi kwamba wazee wameweka katika ofisi zao na hawataki kutoka. Na bado hata wakipata hata kustaafu watapata pensheni yao, lakini bado hamwangalii vijana.
Serikali yetu ina ufahamu dhahiri kwamba vijana wana ubunifu usio na kifani.
Well, and thank you so much for joining us on Easy Friday Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu, and let's begin with Sunday's Berlin Marathon, where world marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge headlines the men's start list at the 2023 Berlin Marathon set for this Sunday in Germany. Now, Kipchoge will be aiming to win Berlin Marathon title for the 5th time after winning last year's edition in a world record of 2 hours, 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Something very special indeed here.
The two-time Olympic champion Kipchoge called the great Haile Gebrselassie record last year after winning the event for the 4th time. However, he endured a difficult time this year with a problem with his left leg restricting his ability to compete to the best of his ability in April at the Boston Marathon. Over the course of the 48 editions of the event, 12 world records have been broken. Eliud Kipchoge recorded the most recent one in an outstanding time of 2 hours and 1 minute and 9 seconds. Kipchoge, together with Ethiopian duo Gotitom Gebrselassie and Guya Adola, the winner of the 2021 BMW Berlin Marathon, are just a few of the big names who frequently set records in Berlin. In the women's race, Commonwealth 10,000-meter champion Sheila Chepkirui is confident of securing a podium position in the event this Sunday. She finished 4th in her World Marathon debut in London in April this year, and she targets to register fastest time on Sunday. The other Kenyan in the race is Margaret Muriuki. The two Kenyan runners will face stiff competition from Ethiopia's Tigis Assefa, who will be aiming for the record once more. Join Abwile for Easy Friday.
Is a history maker in Berlin. Yet again, he has done it. The world record is gone, and now he can celebrate. And that...
We wish Kipchoge and the Kenyan contingent in that marathon on Sunday all the best. Moving on to Kenya Premier League, where the season enters its 4th round this weekend with 9 matches on card. Defending champions Gor Mahia will be in action against Kakamega Homeboys, while FC Leopards will take on Kenya Police at the Kenya Sacco Stadium in South Sea, Nairobi.
The Kenya Premier League season enters its 4th round this weekend, with 9 matches on card. Tomorrow, FC Leopards coach Tom Juma is aiming to register his first win of the season when his side face Police FC. Leopards are winless in their previous 3 matches, drawing twice and losing once. In other matches tomorrow, Tusker FC will host Mohoroni at Ruaraka Stadium. Bidco United will face Talanta, while Shabana will play Kariobangi Sharks at the Raila Odinga Homa Bay Stadium. On Sunday, Murang'a Seal will host league leaders Posta Rangers. KCB will welcome Bandari. Kakamega Homeboys will face defending champions Gor Mahia. Ulinzi Stars play Sofapaka, while City Stars face Nzoia Sugar. Posta Rangers are top of the league standings with 7 points, same points as Gor Mahia, while Bandari and Murang'a Seal are 3rd and 4th respectively with 6 points each. For Easy Friday, I'm Fred Njogu.
Elsewhere, the annual National Olympic Committee of Kenya seminar for presidents and secretary general started yesterday in Machakos, with the participants being taken through the current legal issues facing sports and how to navigate them. Now in attendance were all the presidents and secretary generals of the Olympic and Commonwealth sports, government representatives, media editors and practitioners in sports. The 3-day seminar revolves around youth sports and collaborations in sports development.
We believe in the National Olympic Committee of Kenya that we need to go back to the drawing board and get the support from the grassroots levels, and that is why we have invited the presidents and the secretary generals of the federations so that we can read from the same script.
And the Kenya Golf Union plans to start national golf training for schools with the aim of mentoring young golfers for national and international competitions. Speaking after the Embu Golfers Association held their first major inaugural tournament at the new Embu County Golf Club course, Kenya Golf Union Chairman Philip Ochola says that they are determined to mentor young golfers in a bid to improve the standards of the game in the country. He said the move to open up new golf courses in Embu County will ease the current congestion of the current golf courses due to the high number of golf players.
Katika likizo ya watoto ya August hapa tuliweza kulaunch junior golf, na tulikuwa na junior golf kwa hiyo holiday about 25 to 30. Kwa hivyo hii golf tumeiextend kwa watoto wetu na ilikuwa ni ya kufana sana, na kuna watoto ambao tunawaendeleza weekends wanakuja wanaendelea practice yao.
For the seniors who've been able to support the young upcoming leaders like the captain, it's helping us to demystify golf, that anyone around here can play golf.
An English Premier League side, Liverpool, came from behind to beat Austrian side LSK Linz as they made a 3-1 winning start to the Europa League campaign. Now in other matches, West Ham United won with the same margin over Baka Tapola, while Brighton suffered a 3-2 home loss to Greek side AEK Athens.
Helped his squad to overturn the scores against Lask to win 3-1. Lask midfield of the Europa League group campaign.
And in from Thomas Souček.
Elsewhere, Brighton's European ball fell flat as Greek heavyweights AEK Athens, while Dutch side Ajax Amsterdam were held by French side Olympique Marseille in a 3-3 draw.
Well, and thank you so much, Laban Murima, for putting a cap on our sports today. Shiksha?
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to ask you what's happening with the Harambee Starlets women's team. Of course, they're playing Cameroon, so what's the score?
Yes, right now they are playing Cameroon in Douala, the first leg of the women's 2024 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, and it is Kenya is trailing by a goal to nil at halftime. So the second half coming up after 5 minutes, but I'm sure we'll bring you the comprehensive and full results of that particular match tomorrow. But it is 1-0 to the host Cameroon against Harambee Starlets. That's the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. The second leg will be played in 4 days' time here in Nairobi.
Thank you very much for that update. And with that, it's time for us to wrap up the first edition of tonight's Easy Friday. Remember, we will continue. We've got Fancy Fingers, who is from Southeast Seoul. Of course, he's releasing a brand new album, and that's going to be happening right after this. So make sure you don't go too far. Cole Jacks on the decks as well. So lots of entertainment lined up for you on the other side of the studio. Don't go anywhere. Remember, our sign language interpreter has been.
That's Byron, yes.
Byron.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes it's so hard to see the sign language interpreter. The name just flies. But yes, Byron Abuli, thank you so much for your service. We appreciate you. And next time, I'll make sure that I mention you before anybody else. Thank you once again. So yes, I'll see you on the other side. Make sure you stick here only on Easy Friday. Good night.
Yes, indeed.
You're going to sleep.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.
Mifupa mikavu
pombe ni pombe mtu wangu, and we want to go through a life transforming testimony.
Nimeingia kwa pombe mbaya sana. So I used to change wanawake. Nikitoka kwa niko kwa uni. Because the only thing I wanted is their attention.